I'm talking today about the fourth book in the Three Musketeers series, which is called 10 Years Later. Now, that title is a little bit misleading because this book does not actually take place 10 years after the third book. Rather, the last four books together take place 10 years after the second book, because the last four books in the English translation comprise the third book in the French original. Does that make sense? As with before, I will leave a link in the description down below to where this book can be accessed on Project Gutenberg if you'd like to follow along with me. So, much of what I had to say for the third book in the series, the Vicomte de Bragelonne, also holds true for this book as well, perhaps even more so now. The original Four Musketeers are barely in this volume at all. They pop up from time to time, but they are now minor characters in their own series. What this story is actually about is a little bit difficult to say. The story changes focus so often that it's hard to tell who the main characters are supposed to be. One character will be followed for several chapters, only for their story arc to be abruptly dropped as the narrator changes over to focus on another character. But broadly speaking, the story now is all about the nobles and courtiers on the court of Louis XIV and about the young King Louis XIV himself. Instead of being tightly focused, the story keeps expanding outwards and outwards. More characters, more plots, more intrigues, and more romances are constantly being brought into the story. There's political intrigue as we get more of the battle the struggle between the Superintendent Fouquet and the Finance Minister Colbert. There's religious intrigue as the new leader of the Jesuits is chosen, and even hints of a rivalry between the Jesuit faction and the Pope himself. And there are several love triangles and romances. I'm not sure whether Alexandre Dumas is going to be able to provide a satisfying conclusion to all the plots he's introduced, but at the moment, I'm loving how ambitious this story is. I've always loved epic stories, and this story is definitely developing into quite the epic. There's a lot going on here. Although the book at times reads like an overly dramatic romantic novel, a trip over to Wikipedia reveals that much of the book is actually loosely based on historical fact. Many parts of the book that I thought were pure invention turn out to be at least partly historically true. For example, there's a part in this book where the Duke of Buckingham was sent away from France for acting scandalously during Prince Philip and Prince Henrietta's wedding. Turns out it really happened. There's a part in the book where the Comte de Gauche had an affair with Princess Henrietta. Turns out this actually did happen, or at least was actually rumored to have actually happened. And in fact, most of the characters in this book are loosely based on real historical figures. So if you're a fan of historical fiction, because you like mixing the pleasures of learning history with the pleasures of fiction, like I do, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this book. Against all this, however, I do have two complaints about this book. The first complaint is the pacing. The pacing is a little bit too slow for my taste. And again, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but this contrasts with the original book in the series, the original Three Musketeers, which had a very fast pacing. That's completely gone by this point. Alexandre Dumas is now clearly taking his time to set up the story, and the various scandals and love triangles are all set up very slowly. Characters will spend several chapters admiring someone else from a distance, or spend a long time only hinting at deeper feelings. Whenever a new courtroom scandal finally does emerge, however, the payoff is generally quite good, but the getting there can be tedious. Secondly, although it's difficult to decide who the main characters are in this epic tale, Raoul and Louis de Valliere are clearly meant to be the most sympathetic characters. But Alexandre Dumas put in too much effort into making them good, virtuous, and innocent. And the result is that they are the most boring characters in the whole story. As a result, I have trouble working up any interest in their storylines. So that is all for the fourth book in this series. I'll come back and talk about the fifth book next time. Thank you, BookTube.